Hey everyone, welcome back to 996 Howl. Today we're talking about Utah. Finally, we spent two videos on prospects, the organizational depth. We're starting to get to the regular season. They just announced a rookie tournament happening in mid-September. I think it's the 13th, 14th, 15th weekend. It will be streamed on utahhockeyclub.com, I believe. Excited for that. You should tune in if you're home and you're able to watch it live. So let's get into it. I got my opinion and predictions of their lineup, power play lineup, penalty kill lineup, their cap information, contracts, and their draft picks, which isn't as important or interesting as the years continue to go through this rebuild. Now it seems like they're kind of getting out of it, but you don't want to jinx it too early. So let's get into it. First two lines I feel like are pretty safe. A lot of people have already predicted these two lines to be what they are. Keller, Hayden, Schmaltz finally reunited. Hayden only played about 30 games last season, riddled with injuries. A pretty down season for Hayden. Look to him to bounce back. I expect him to get at least 50 points. And to be honest, playing with Schmaltz and Keller on the top line, that's a low bar considering you're playing with guys who hit 70 points pretty consistently. The Kraus, Cooley, Gunther line, that was a line that came together in the last half of this season, towards the last quarter of the season. And it unlocked Cooley and Gunther's scoring ability. They were pretty much on fire the last quarter of the season. So I kept that line together, even though we all know, Coyotes fans, Michelli, Bukestad, and Kraus was a magical line in the first year at Mullet Arena. It was like just a consistent top six of the first line, and then Michelli, Bukestad, and Kraus, just money. That's where all the offense was coming from. And then the bottom six was like non-existent, like Nick Ritchie, Brett Ritchie. I don't even want to mention those names anymore, but I decided to break them up considering how well Kraus, Cooley, and Gunther were. Gunther is looking to have his first full NHL season. Last season, he only got called up due to a suspension to Jason Zucker at the halfway point, and then was never sent back down to the Roadrunners, and was pretty much only getting better as the games went on. So excited to see Cooley and Gunther together for the first time for a full NHL season. So I put McBain there on the third line wing position. I know some people have Doan. I honestly put Doan at first and then removed them for McBain. My reasoning was Michelli and McBain and Doan was a line for those last 11 games of the season last season, and it worked well. It seemed like McBain played well with Michelli. It unlocked him. I feel like McBain took a step back last season. He's more of an NHL veteran than Josh Doan. Did I say Shane Doan? I don't know. More veteran and NHL experience than Josh Doan, who was just recently called up. Like I said, only played 11 games in the NHL last season. So you want to go with someone who's more NHL experience, plays more well that bottom six role, that third line winger role. He knows what to do. He just needs to play with better wingers as opposed to like Carcone and O'Brien, or like Kellerman or Unique, which he was anchored to most of last season. So that's my reasoning for McBain on that third line. And also, if I had McBain on the fourth line, three centers on the same line, it doesn't make too much sense for me. So another reason why I put McBain up there. And then the fourth line of Kerfoot, Stenlund, and Doan, a great fourth line. Kerfoot on your fourth line. That's pretty amazing. Kerfoot has the ability to play anywhere in your lineup. First line, he was a first line center last season when Hayden and Bukestad were injured at the same time. He was between Keller and Schmaltz, so he could go anywhere you want in the lineup. The scratches for me are Carcone and O'Brien. You could, if you want some speed, you put Carcone in for Doan. Doan and Carcone, are, in my opinion, are sort of fringe NHLers. Like, I loved what Doan did last season, but he's not a bona fide NHLer yet. Like, this is the season where he puts his stamp and his lock that he's an NHL player. So he's on that fourth line and could swap in for Carcone if they want more speed, or O'Brien if they want to fight. It's a tough, gritty opponent. There's a fighter or enforcer on the other team. You put in O'Brien. And I also want to say I'm pretty sure Tej Aginla will make the roster. He'll probably play the home opener in Utah, the first ever NHL game in Utah, just to give fans some excitement that this is their Utah player. And it doesn't hurt Utah if Tej Aginla plays, up to 9 games. If he plays that 10th game, then his contract kicks in. He could play 9 games, get sent back down to the WHL, and his contract first year doesn't count. It will slide into next year. For defense, this one's pretty easy. I did Sergachev Durzi as a first pairing. Sergachev should get more responsibilities, not playing behind Victor Hedman anymore. And he's honestly the best defenseman here, so why would he be on the second pairing? I put Durzi there instead of Marino. I just didn't want to overload the first pairing, but I could see an argument with Marino being paired with Sergachev. But you don't want 2 fresh new guys on the same pairing. That was my logic. Whereas Durzi, Valimaki, they've been with the team for a year already, so they could teach their D pairing how they play the system. I don't, like I said in a previous video, this is a glaring issue here. Cole is very old, but he averaged like 20 minutes per game the past 2 seasons. He could still play. Just again, you never know when that age is going to kick in, and he can't keep up with the league. So there's a bit of for me, Valimaki would be best suited for a third pairing role, and then they need to acquire someone for that second pairing role. If they're close to the playoffs, expect them to make a trade for a second pair defenseman, and then not sort of scratches, but the next up defenseman who could take a spot would be Soderstrom and Kolyachonok. As I'm recording this video, there's been no decision made on Soderstrom if they're going to sign him or they're going to trade him or he's going to go to Europe and play. I was looking as I was doing the penalty killing units. There's very little defensemen here that play penalty killing minutes after Sergachev and Marino. Like they're top and Cole. They're top minute penalty killers. But after those 3, like Durzi is under a minute per game on penalty killing, and when you think of Durzi, you don't think of him as a penalty-killing defenseman. For Valimaki, he has the build to be a penalty-killing defenseman. He has the body. He's not as fierce as I would like. Again, he is under a minute per game on the penalty-killing last season. So he could be taught by Marino or Sergachev or Cole to be that, penalty-killing defenseman. Kesselring barely played penalty killing either. So my advice, if you're on the Roadrunners and you're a defenseman, focus on penalty killing, be a great penalty killer, and that's your easiest shot to the big club on Utah. And the goalies is easy. Right now it's just Ingram and Vejmelka. Vialta is not ready. He won't be up with the big club unless there's an injury. If there's an injury to Ingram, we got to rely on Vejmelka consistently night in and night out with Vialta as a backup. That's a pretty bad scenario. So hopefully Ingram doesn't get injured this season. That could make or break this season for Utah, I believe. Like if there's one player who gets injured and could derail the season, it's Ingram in my opinion. Then we go to power play. I got Gunther, Hayden, Schmaltz, and then Durzi and Keller on the points. I kept it simple, familiarity. This was a power play number 1 to start the season last year. For me, I need Durzi to shoot more, be more offensive. He scored 1 goal from games 41 to 82. He scored the last goal in Arizona Coyotes history. Keller plays the point, and he could choose to decide what he wants to do. He could pass it to Gunther for that elite snipe one-timer. He could do that give-and-go thing he does with Schmaltz, where gives to Schmaltz, Schmaltz gives it back to Keller. Keller immediately bounces it right back to Schmaltz. Schmaltz shoots it, and that's how Schmaltz was getting his goals. Keller could shoot as well. He's also got Durzi on the point for that sneaky wrister. He scored a couple slappers, maybe 2 or 3 last season. Maybe he gets more comfortable, doesn't have that time of getting acclimated to a new team, new system. He's already there. So PP1 for me is just familiarity. They know this system. They could execute. Power play number 2, you got Michelli, Bukestad, Kraus, Sergachev, and Cooley. Cooley and Michelli will be the playmakers. They'll decide what they want to do with the puck. They both love to hold on to the puck, and you can have each of them on opposite sides of the ice. Bukestad and Kraus, they go hunt and battle for the puck. And then Sergachev's got that bomb at the point. Sergachev in the 2022-2023 season, he had 2.5 minutes of power play time each game, and that's when he had his career year in goals and points, about 68 points, 10 goals. So give him a lot of power play time, and he should rack up those points. Like I said, Sergachev's got that point shot. I put Bukestad as their centerman there. Bukestad right now has a better face-off percentage than Cooley, so it's a more higher probability of winning that face-off. But you should know that Cooley and Michelli are going to be the puck-moving players on the power play unit. I wouldn't put Cooley on PP1. He wasn't on PP1 last season, and he played the full season, so he needs to learn how to sort of dictate his own power play unit away from Keller. And if it could be, a Keller-like player on the power play, then you have two of them on your team. That's a good recipe for success there. Then we go to penalty killing. Pretty boring. You got Bukestad, Krause, Sergachev, Marino. I loaded up that first penalty kill unit. Second unit is Stenlund and Kerfoot. They also have McBain to throw in there if they have to. But the defense is Valimaki and Cole. Like I already said, there's no one else after these four defensemen to penalty kill. Dursey had a little bit of experience last season, so if a defenseman, one of these four, get a penalty, I really don't know what Andre Tourigny is going to do. Maybe he does 3 forwards and 1 defenseman on his PK unit, since, McBain is reliable. Like I said, Krause, Hayden, Keller, they've also had some experience on penalty kill as well. But you're looking at, if one of these four get a penalty, like Kesselring or Dursey is your only player to sub in, and they're barely penalty killers, barely have any experience. Sergachev's got averaging 2 minutes of penalty kill time over his last 2 seasons per game. So obviously he's a penalty killer as well as the same thing. He's a power play player as well. Marino averages like 3 minutes per game on the penalty kill. So he's a bona fide penalty killer. And Ian Cole as well averages 3 minutes on the penalty kill the past 2 seasons. Considering his age, that's pretty good. Then we go to cap hits, cap information. Cap Friendly unfortunately shut down, so I'm resorting to Puckpedia, which isn't as accurate. I'm still trying to figure out its little bugs, glitches, and inconsistencies. They still have Shea Weber counting as their cap hit and taking away from their cap space, but it's obvious he's not playing hockey anymore. So I myself subtracted those numbers, which is why my numbers are a bit different. And they also had 46 contracts out of 50. No idea why. I counted it so many times and I keep getting 45. Maybe they're counting Soderstrom, who's a restricted free agent, as their 46. So that's why my numbers are different. They could make a play at the trade deadline. They got the cap space. Shea Weber is the only, anchor LTR contract they have. Under the Coyotes, they used to have 3 or 4 per year. So they got 2 more years, I believe, of Shea Weber. And then draft picks, we're nearing the end of accumulating a lot of draft picks. I like 2026. You got 3 second-round picks right there. That could make a big splash for the 2026 trade deadline, where they should be in the playoffs, and they can make a big splash with those draft picks. And then after 2026, it's kind of the run-of-the-mill playoff sort of battling draft pick cupboard, where you have 1 in each round, and if you're in the playoffs, you trade your first, get a rental, and that's the new era we hopefully will see in 2027. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, spread the word. And as always, thank you for your support.